This class. We're also going to talk about PowerDB. By show of hands, who's heard of PowerDB? Power Database. Another software you might have heard is PowerBase. That's another one. What do you guys use? PowerDB? All right, cool stuff. So yeah, but you'll notice like with everything else, the prices for your license they're getting out of hand, man. They're getting out of hand. But if you have this stuff, it's powerful software that basically lets you, have years and years and years, PM after PM, be able to trend data on your specific motor, specific, switch gear, whatever it may be. So super powerful tool to actually see how your equipment is performing over time. And interestingly, I bring this up. Usually we'll bring it up every now and then, and a lot of your test forms are actually don't tell PowerDB or they'll charge us more money, but we kind of pick excerpts from their test forms for your purposes, for the assignments, right? So in this case, I especially want to take you to PowerDB a little more often because for those of you who were in class last year with RISA Power, the Halco division specifically, the guy was kind of blown away when he's like, you guys actually do PowerDB in this class? And so when I hear that kind of thing from our industry reps and what they like to see or what kind of blows them away that we cover in this class, well, I'm like, well, here's more. So definitely I want to take the opportunity as they come to introduce you more to PowerDB. So DB stands for database, of course. At its most biggest overview here, sort by job numbers. In this case, luckily TD has a ton of work. We'll have our different customers, our different descriptions of the jobs we do, assigned to a different job number. So when we put our seal of approval or our calibration stickers, test stickers, we'll put it on the equipment with a traceable job number. That way you can see, okay, the last time this was tested was this number, and in their Isomatics unit, you can expand this down to all the different types of equipment they have. So this will take a while because there's a lot of work, man. Job security, right? So what we're seeing here is sorted by substation, sorted by equipment ID. So all of these here are a bunch of motors. Actually, I picked this one because this was a case study I talked about. You remember we saw in the news at the that one refinery down by the LAX that were caught on fire. Well, these were all the motors that we actually, as simple as run a Megger test, PI. We actually PI'd all those motors, so a lot of billable time, right? So, but you're seeing that the PI has a very, very good application, and we worked with Chevron to say this is what we'll have. If it's 1.5 PI, we're good, right? If it's below that, we're sending it out. Because especially you saw this thing caught up in the fires and stuff, they were sending out motors left and right to get rewound, to get refurbished, because, who knows, are you really gonna stake that this motor that was in a fire is gonna be good to perform? So they were erring on the side of caution. Normally you'll say, anything above 1 is good for the most part for aged equipment, but they, set certain thresholds to say, other than that, we're gonna send them out. But these are all the motors we tested. Let's see if there's PI values on here. Yeah, and so you can see we did our 30-second, our 1 minute, and our 10 minutes. So basically, everything that you're learning in this class is directly world, applicable, right? Exactly the kind of money makers that these Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100, you name it, that they actually pay good money for, and that they helps them to do what they do. And I would say keep prices at the pump lower, but hey, that's a different result. It's not because of the Chevron fire. There's something else going on that's causing rising gas prices. So in this case, we had 1,010, or in this case, it would have appeared as 1.01 gigohms on our instrument, and then we would have converted it as it called for. Ended up in 6 gigs, which we know is a passing value, right? And we calculate the 2.38 PI. And if we look at that chart on Megger stitching time above 2, like I said, fantastic. So this one was good to go. Let me see if I could pull you a failed result. And the nice thing is it lays out by equipment, by lineup, by switchgear, and even says, I can find a failed result pretty quick because it's all lined up here. So that's one of the strengths of our PowerDB. In this case, we're already familiar with the failing value. Okay, motor went direct to ground when testing. The motor will be pulled and sent out for refurbishment. So this one didn't even build voltage, and actually that is exactly what we saw here. So to make that determination is actually, a good thing to be able to do. Here's a real world example of that. Chances are all these other failed results, we weren't even able to build the data set because they just failed right off the bat. And even these needs attention ones, 1.11 is less than the 1.5 we talked about, so they wanted that brought to their attention. see if we can find any other interesting one. But definitely this is a good opportunity. It was very real. Yeah, 1.03, so pretty close to 1. Again, some customers would be happy with that to say, you know, it seemed fairly streamlined. But in this case, they wanted it brought to their attention, and then not satisfactory for Chevron spec at that point in moment. In this case, a really great opportunity and some very recent, world news to be able to, really see the importance of Power DB. And when Chevron calls and says, hey, I want to know about this motor. Well, with all these motors, we tested hundreds of motors possibly, but luckily we have a very comprehensive way of tracking these down and being able to pull up that information for them like that. And that's where the value
I
comes.
think for extra, you put a missing nameplate on the motor.
Yeah, missing nameplate on the motor. And so, in this case, maybe we have historical data or maybe a sister motor and we'll know the system well enough from one line and stuff to be able to say, okay, this is your nominal, so we know to test it at this. But if it burned up in the fire or is illegible, well, standard 20% overage for that. We'll replace it. Got feeder cables and stuff. This will be more in line with what we do. This is just a spot check. But yeah, this is a very important, advantage of Power DB, and especially when we were able to blow away, his name was Adi Aguilar. You guys remember him from Recent Power? Again, another guy who gave us, mock interviews on the fly. He critiqued resumes in class. He was excited to see, what this program does, what it brings to the industry. And so when he heard that we have Power DB exposure in this class, what it meant to me was we definitely need to incorporate this more here. We can sort by job number. I think it's sort by asset type. So if we need to track down certain equipment, we can find it. These are all searchable, all filterable. We can trend our data. Again, in the information age, that's the most valuable stuff. I just made a mock job number to put all our forms here. But what we're going to do, I want to demonstrate one of these capabilities of our transformer here. That's a big one. All right, that's clearly a big cable PI test. So our motor winding test, we learned a lot from it for probably different reasons than we would have expected. But what I want to show you all is I actually am plugging in the Megger. Those of you who made an astute observation, there's actually a COM port here, a USB port where you can connect your Megger to your computer, specifically because Megger bought Power DB. Power DB is actually a subsidiary or whatever of Megger. There's actually been another huge industry acquisition. I won't spoil it for you, but let's just say second week of May, we're having some industry partners come in. Let's just say they had dropped a whole lot of money on a very familiar brand. It blew me away, so I'll leave that surprise for you. Everyone's buying up everyone. It's a good industry to be with. A lot of money changes hands. So if you're in the middle, a little falls on you, if it rains money, welcome to the industry. I didn't get a cut of it, but we're just watching these big dogs make moves, and we tend to follow the industry. So. All right, so what we saw was my very colorful, very awesome drawing. I like mine. The text was great and all. But what we want to do is, there's a cable class, right? So rather than just the motors, what are we looking at here? Probably 4160 cable, right? We're seeing this termination, which I'll shift to this view here. All right, there we go. Not too bad. All right, what do we see here? Remember this guy from last week?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and what is that? What will this tell us if we test, between here and here? Again, that's when we have that cutaway, that cross-sectional area that says we're testing the bulk of the insulation across the whole insulation. So anything that leaks to the outside will be picked up by this guy, right? So this is a suitable, phase to ground test. So current carrying conductor, right? Accessible termination, as well as the tape shield that goes all the way around the whole cable, hundreds and hundreds of feet. Right? So by testing face to ground, we all understand that this is a very, useful test. What I'm going to do is I will connect, again, Santiago pointed out for us the diagram shows that we connect to the shield on the red. So we'll just follow their example. I'll connect the black to the lug over here. So it looks a little bit like this. There we go. Black lead and our red lead over here.
And you're saying this is face to ground again?
Essentially face to ground. So if it were installed, and I'll have field pictures for you, but remember that we have this data. This is a good exercise. So what we had was our conductor, stranded copper, our